Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome in. Welcome to the Wild Bohr Show. I'm Chris, the Wild Bohr. So excited about my guest today. Thank you all so very much for being here. Just a reminder, Hibbity at 25, 35, 45, 50, now 75 and 1. I am indeed a state licensed auctioneer, real estate broker. I can sell your house and everything inside. It is the Wild Bohr Show. Folks, we've had some amazing guests recently, and this one is really, really cool. We're going to do this off the cuff, nothing pre-scripted. The applause should be absolutely huge. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike from Mike's Weather Page, Mike Boylan is in the house.
Oh, thank you. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, this is awesome.
I know, dude, right?
I haven't done very many podcasts drinking beer. This is going to be great.
Oh, yeah, I forgot I had one.
Yeah, we're at the beer fest, so we're allowed to drink beer.
That's it, yeah. You run into some great people here. We've been, oh, man, everybody's got a cool story. So, Mike, your story is awesome. For those of you that don't know Mike's Weather Page is followed by, what, 2 million people?
Yeah, apparently. There's a few million.
A few?
Well, between TikTok is almost a million now, so I've expanded to, YouTube, Instagram, X. God, it's crazy. Facebook's my baby. I mean, that's what it started on. But it's definitely expanded into a younger crowd, which isn't on Facebook.
Okay.
TikTok has really been fun for me because there's been young girls here and guys come up, and they're like, hey, we watch you on TikTok.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just said to my buddy, I said, you know what? There's not a lot of women here, but the women that are here are so cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's a beer festival, for goodness sakes.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a mechanical shark over there. You saw that yet? Did you see that yet?
I'm getting on it. So Talladega.
Really?
Oh, I'm a big NASCAR guy, right?
Me too.
And I was with my daughter, and Dodge had a mechanical bull a couple weeks ago, and I was so excited I was going to do it. And then they breathalyzed you. You weren't allowed to ride the bull after a beer. And I'm like, no way.
You got to be kidding.
So I'm going to make up for it right now.
That's hilarious because being at a NASCAR event, it was probably sponsored by a beer company or a distillery company, something like that.
Nobody was riding a bull because they all got breathalyzed.
That's hilarious. I was just saying, yeah, no waiting whatsoever. Look at that. Richard Osterrood is here. Look at that. Yeah, check your hand real quick. We're live here.
Awesome.
Do you know this guy? This is Richard Osterrood, Epic 180.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, buddy. Mike Boylan. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you,
Life is a donation.
Yeah, it is. Good to see you,
Friends
man.
with Sharon. Yep.
Good to see you. We're having a great time at the festival today. My guest today is Mike Boylan, Mike's Weather Page. Mike, you got a couple million followers. I always love to ask this, and I know the story because I've heard it a couple times, but please tell people how this happened, how you ended up with Mike's Weather Page and where it is now, and maybe any advice you would have for people that are trying to build their audience, etc.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, I went to school for business marketing. I never in a million years dreamed of being a weather guy that people trusted. You know? I just wanted to build a website for me. I called it Mike's Weather Page. It was like really basic, Mike's Weather Page.
Sure.
And I shared it with friends and family. It was, I fell in love with spaghetti models in 2004.
Okay.
And I couldn't find them the next day. And I'm like, girl, where are these things? We didn't have Google back then.
Right.
So I was taking HTML classes at USF, and so I built a website. And social media came around in 08, 09, and got on Facebook. And here we are. I mean, I still sit at, I made a post the other day about my old desk. I've been sitting at this old desk since, my daughters were born, 19 years ago. And everything happens behind this old desk. I got a webcam. I got, a stupid little microphone. And it's like, now I'm on Fox, CNN, News Nation. I had... senators giving me awards, and DeSantis is sharing my stuff now, and I'm like, I'm just the same guy that loves weather, and now all of a sudden it's like, my words matter, and it's like, it's got a little stressful.
Oh, okay.
But I do love it. I mean, I do.
Stressful how? In what way?
Well, because I realize who's listening now.
Okay.
I'm like, oh my God, like people are taking what I have to say seriously.
Sure.
And so I put a little more effort into staying away from adjectives. I know how much people hate hype.
Sure.
I might have been that guy that hyped. I mean,
Okay.
I will admit things I've learned along the way. When you share a scary GFS run of a Cat 5 hitting Tampa, you're going to get a lot of likes and shares. And it's addicting not to do that, but you have to hold yourself back.
Sure.
Because people's emotions are involved.
Oh, my gosh.
And I've learned people hate adjectives. I hate adjectives. Like, things are going to be devastating. It's going to be catastrophical. So I've tweaked myself over the years to try to be neutral and let people think for themselves. And
Well, you said you launched in 2004. I'm from right here, so I know what happened in 2004. Why don't you share with everybody what was going on in Florida in 2004? Remind them.
Oh yeah, Charlie was coming right to Tampa, and
straight for us.
And I was the dude with masking tape on the windows. Like we were so naive. Like nobody knew. They're going through the streets. Oh, evacuate. We're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And it turned.
Thank God.
For us, luckily.
Thank God for us. Yeah, not for Ponte Gorda, but thanks for us.
Yeah.
Right?
They had it hard, and we had Gene and Francis that year, and it was crazy.
They crisscrossed the stage.
Yeah. There was one spot I'll never forget, south of Bartow. They got all 3 hurricanes. But we've learned a lot over the years. Like everybody evacuated our area, went to Orlando.
Sure.
It was worse in Orlando than it was in Tampa.
I know. I'm one of them.
So I think a lot of my growth has been sharing stories and what I've seen, and like, this is what it might look like. This is what, why you should evacuate, why you shouldn't evacuate. We've learned a lot. I mean, we've become a very, resilient state. We've had a lot of action the last few years.
Unfortunately, yes. Hopefully, though, last year we talk about Helene and Milton, right?
Right.
And so we were 100 years removed from what we'd call a direct impact, which is when we say impact. I know you don't like adjectives. So that wasn't a direct hit. It was direct impact.
Right.
Agreed? Because
Totally,
it went
100%.
up. It went, what, 75 miles north of us?
Oh, yeah. No, see, 1920, we're sitting right where we got 1921. Oldsmar got flattened.
Flattened.
I'm an Oldsmar, resident and a Florida native, and the history of Oldsmar is amazing to me because it was founded by R.E. Olds, who owned Oldsmobile, and 4 or 5 years after he bought it, we got completely flattened by a 1921 hurricane. It hit north of us, Tarpon Springs, Cat 3, and since then everybody thinks we're protected by Indian mounds. And, so I do these expos every year, and I always tell people, don't be stubborn. Like, there's going to be a year that storm doesn't turn.
Correct.
And we had Ian turn, Irma turn. And last year, unfortunately, we saw a non-direct hit.
Sure.
And I still tell people we didn't get anything. Like, we didn't get the winds and the waves. Like, surge is one thing. Surge is 6-8 foot, but we don't have the winds that like Fort Myers got.
Oh my gosh.
So if our area ever got hit with a storm to our north and had these winds added to the surge. Surge is one thing. Then you add waves, like 10 foot of waves. Oh my God. So we were spared, believe it or not, but it was still bad, like really bad. Like thousands of homes flooded. And it was awful.
I'm hoping that the fact that Ransom figured it out 100 years ago, and of course this place was dormant for a long, long time, and I'm one of those guys that moved from Tampa to Oldsmar in '73. I always joke that's where the Torino broke down, and we never left.
Oh, it's awful.
So yeah, I remember when there was nothing here. As a matter of fact, our telephone number was 1002.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I kept it forever. It's kind of wild.
Well, I remember the 2-lane roads. I remember Boot Ranch was just an RC plane
William
field.
Boyd. It was, yeah.
Remember,
The remote control planes.
You'd be flying, but it was single lane Tampa Road.
Sure.
And here we are,
It was cows and cattle in orange groves, and I'm not exactly sure how old you are.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
52. I remember the oranges. Yep.
The orange groves.
Mom and Dad still live in Palm Harbor.
Yeah.
And we had orange trees.
Sure.
Now they're all gone.
Most of them are gone. Yeah. What wasn't done was killed in the freeze of 89 or whatever that freeze was.
Yeah. And we got that coming. We got more cold weather coming. So hurricane season, hopefully, is over for us.
You talk to people all over the world. By the way, we have the 40-degree weather is going to be showing up here on Monday, and we take that very seriously around here, friends. We don't have the clothes because everybody that moves down here gets rid of all those clothes.
I don't have socks. I don't know. They don't match. I know that. I got one with a red stripe, one without a red. It's like I got one pair of jeans.
That's hilarious. We were going to play. We have 2 Little League baseball games, one Monday night and one Wednesday night. We'll let you give us the forecast for that in just a second.
Yeah.
But let's talk more about you. So, all right. So you started this page you started your Mike's Weather page, and you told me why and what the genesis of all that was. And so then you started to get followers and gain followers. And is that something that happened completely organically, or did you boost and promote? Because you said you realized the responsibility. How did that help you? Or what did you do to help that along?
Yeah, I never boosted. For me, 2 stories stand out. And I always replay this in my mind all the time. But people know I love to go to Chili's, and I love to sit and have a few beers and work on the website.
Okay.
And I'll never forget, I was at 4,999 followers one time, and the bartender girl, I'm like, go like my page. I was so excited to hit 5,000. And I felt like I was on top of the world. You know? It was awesome. And then what started happening was Matthew in 16. We had a storm that was hugging the East Coast, all of a sudden people
Yeah.
were drawn to the page because I was one of the first doing live videos.
Oh yeah.
And then 17 we had Irma.
Yep.
So every storm, 18 we had Michael. So every year we've had a storm that like compounded a big number.
Sure.
And then it's just word of mouth. I went to school for marketing, and if I had to say the reason of my success is more just word of mouth. Like,
Okay.
it's just it happened. I mean, I never, I posted yesterday. People get on me all the time, and I'm a very insecure person sometimes. I have to like reassure myself. I'll be honest because I can't believe I'm that guy on the news, CNN, Fox, that people are listening to, and sometimes it hits me hard. I'm like,
Sure.
holy crap! Like, who am I? Like,
Yeah.
why am I? But I have to remind myself that that people want to hear an honest truth, thoughts, and they trust. They trust. I think I do a lot of meteorology summits. I can't even say the
Right, I
word
got
because
you.
I'm not
I
even,
know what you
I'm
meant
not
to
even a
say.
meteorologist. I can't even say the word. I'm a meteorologist. But trust is everything. I believe. I'm really
Sure.
personal good friends with a lot of our Tampa Bay Mets. Dennis and Paul Delgado, and establishing trust, I think, is the bottom line. Like,
Sure.
when what hits the fan, who are you going to turn to that you can trust?
Sure.
And for some reason, I think that I somehow made it happen without even intending it to happen.
Well, and that parlays. I mean, I don't know if he was quoting you, but I do know Dennis Phillips, and
Yeah.
we're acquainted. But gosh, it's almost 40 years ago now. I actually was an intern at one of his first stations, which was WCJB in Gainesville, Florida.
Oh my God, he talks
And he
about it,
replaced a guy named Fred Rixey, who was the resident meteorologist. And when Dennis came in, it was such a breath of fresh air. And I still love his style because it hasn't changed at all. He asked the question you're thinking, and then he answers it.
Yep.
Is this going to wipe us off the map?
Yeah.
No. He's got his cool style, but he's got a great following, and we trust him.
Trust. Well, and I think I always do these hurricane presentations, and one of the biggest impacts is I always say the media.
Sure.
Media is one of your threats, and because of the hype. And,
Sure.
and media, unfortunately, they're driven by numbers.
Sure.
So they start to see, we make it a little more dramatic, we're going to get a little bit more
Of course,
views.
yeah.
And people see right through it. And I mean, I found myself doing it almost too, because when you get a little more dramatic, oh my God, now you get more likes and clicks. So it's really hard to hold back when to post, how to post, the words you say.
Sure.
That's where Dennis, I think, has done really good. People love him. We're lucky in our area. We got a lot of great Mets. Every now and then he'll email me. I'll get an email like, "What the hell were you thinking, Mike?" Like he's like, "You're drinking at the bar, aren't you?" Because he always doesn't agree with what I'm posting.
I understand you.
It's like I'm sorry. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have posted that.
That's funny. Yeah, but I remember him quoting. I remember as Hurricane Helene was coming straight for us, and I remember him saying, somebody that I really respect said that we can really anticipate 7 to 9 feet of water or something to that effect. And I wondered, I was like, I know that he and Mike talk all the time. I wonder if that might be somebody that he's quoting because we haven't experienced it here.
Right.
So we're all just looking at maps and all this other good stuff. And so to have a voice of, hey, you know what, there's respect there. There might be some experience. But then there's some truth underneath all of it, and yet they want it. It's almost like a train. They want it to be worse. Like,
Yeah.
stop it.
Well,
we
they
don't want
do.
this.
But that was a storm. We did converse a lot, and we both agreed after talking it was bad.
Yeah.
We had a storm in 2020 called Ada.
Sure, I remember that one.
It skirted our coast, and it was 60 miles off our shoreline, and we had hundreds of homes flooded. We had flooded here in Safety Harbor.
Sure.
So looking at the numbers from that storm and what they were predicting for this storm, you knew it was going to happen. And there was a lot of denial with Helene. Like, I don't think people realize when you saw that skinny little cone 100 miles off our coastline, you're like, that's so far off. So the messaging, Ian, for me personally, a lot of folks lost their lives in Ian. There's a lot of people that compared Ian to Charlie.
Right.
A lot of it was media. Like, Charlie was a Cat 4, Ian was a Cat 4. Completely different animals. And so I think our job, everybody's job, is to educate the viewer as much as possible. This is what happened with this type of storm. Now the National Hurricane Center is saying an axe should be part of your hurricane kit.
And that's a good idea.
Because people died in Ian, they couldn't get out of their attic.
Makes sense. If you remember, and I know you do, Katrina, some of the similar stuff. And do you remember, I know you did, Katrina, most of you watching don't, but it wasn't necessarily the day of the event. When Katrina hit, it was not that. What happened was the levees overwhelmed and they broke.
Right.
And that sits in a bowl, the city of New Orleans. And when that water came in, there was nothing they could do. And it rose so quickly that that's what people did, right? They went up to drier areas, ended up in their attic, and they were stuck.
Yep.
Or they were on top of their roofs and they were stuck. So that's not a bad idea. I mean, obviously,
It's awful. No, and I remember seeing videos from Mississippi from that same storm that got hit with 28-foot storm surge. And
can you imagine that?
no, and Ian had that. So, I'm torn sometimes with the tone, and a lot of people want to be in denial. Like,
Sure.
and I always say, don't be stubborn, don't be stubborn, don't be stubborn, because we all believe, like, it turned.
Sure.
We survived a lot. Every storm's different, and that's one thing I've learned across storm chasing. Every storm has its own unique impact. I remember Milton down at Drew Street with Best Buy. There was people crawling out of their first floor to the second floor, 20 foot underwater. The FWC told me they had 200 water rescues the next morning after Milton.
That's nuts.
So an area that's in an evacuation zone E. So, I just did a big camping seminar, and, campers flip storm. I chased Hurricane Beryl last year. I counted 50 campers on their side. So you might think, it's only Cat 1. But every storm is different. And that's, I think, our job to at least tell people this could happen. Maybe it won't, but you somehow have to still hype it to the point where if it does happen, people take it serious.
You got to take it seriously, and there is a point of no return. At some point, that's the issue is now it's not even safe for first responders to get out there, and so you need to get out there. I've come up with about 3 categories of storms, my own categories.
Okay.
Now, I'm not being silly about this, but I call it a wet storm, I call it a wind storm, or I call it a water storm. Sometimes you get all 3, but a wet storm would be like some of the tropical storms that we have, Mike, that come in. What was we were calling it Little Debbie? Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Little Debbie last year. Little Debbie came in and it dumped like 20 inches of rain.
Right. And we have flooding. We have even our bridges sometimes shut down because of surge.
Well, and that's the water storm. So then the wind storm would be Milton affected us with wind in this area, but south of us, they got snow. So you might just get the wind, right? And you got 100, 110, 120 mile an hour winds. Most people think it goes through and it's over. You and I have lived here long enough to understand there's tailwinds. Remember Hurricane Gene when it came through?
Oh, yeah.
The next day, man, out of nowhere, when you're thinking things have calmed to 20 or 30 miles an hour, all of a sudden, whoom, and they have a 60 mile an hour tailwind.
Well, the tail, I think it was Ian and Irma, as the storm went off to the northeast, we were still getting energy from the Gulf feeding into that. And we would get this rush of, one thing too with the surge from Helene is, I learned this with my buddy Captain Dylan Hubbard during we would get a push of water during high tide.
Yep.
The winds don't back down. So when you have a low tide, the low tide never goes out. Well, then here comes a high tide cycle. Oh. It's even bigger. So what I've been learning is that sometimes the surge comes in well after you think it's over. And that's what I heard with Helene here. Everybody said, the storm just passed our north. And then it's like, holy crap, 6 hours later, here comes the water.
Here comes the water.
These are things we're all learning together. And it's we're all in it together. I mean, the one thing about it too, I tell people, the hurricane deaths, 88 to 90% of all hurricane deaths are water.
Oh, yeah.
So as long as you stay away from flooding and surge, you're going to be okay.
And that's it. Higher ground. You talked about going to Orlando and that challenge, because in Charlie, I did the same thing. And in fact, I evacuated my parents and I had them go as well. And I remember that it shifted and went in through Punta Gorda, I believe, and came straight up the spine. So we were literally in the eye. Don't feel too sorry for me. I was at the Contemporary Resort at Disney. It wasn't a bad place to hang out.
That's what I tell people. Hey, it's a once-in-a-lifetime party.
Go do it, man, for
time,
sure.
Man.
And Disney doing Disney stuff. They just open it up for the kids. And anyway, but it still stunk. And I remember coming home. And I remember that it was just bright and sunny and beautiful and nothing happened. And then there were other storms where we evacuated. And I remember coming back and just touching my garage door opener and going, if that opens, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because now I still have power. Well, this last storm, we ended up with 10 inches of water in our house. So again, those are my 3 is the windstorm, the wet storm, and then that water storm. And that's the killer, is that water storm.
Well, okay. So since obviously we got people living in South Florida, I always tell folks, hit the reset button every hurricane season.
Sure.
Don't think about what happened in the past, because again, every storm is different, and you have to take every storm as a brand new possible set of impacts that you might not have thought about it, and so that's the, it's weather. I mean, it sucks, but the other thing over the years I've learned is like, that's what you get for living in Florida. Let me tell you what, we got tornadoes, we got mudslides, we have, wildfires, we have blizzards. Every part of the country has weather.
Sure.
I mean, living in Florida, at least with hurricanes, they're coming. There's no surprises.
Exactly.
We have weeks sometimes, so it's the best natural disaster as far as being prepared, and part of living here, man. It's like, and then we all have stories. Neighbors helping neighbors come together.
Totally.
We,
that's in the community
storms
comes together,
build lifelong memories, and we all get through it.
Well, I can tell you what I do when they put the X, when I see it published for the first time, whether it's the National Hurricane Center, where they put the X over the Tampa area, I do two things. One, I go, because they're usually wrong.
It's going to change.
The second thing I do is I reserve 2 hotel rooms on higher ground.
Yes.
That have a cancellations available, and I pivot and move them as I need them. That way, because I always have a neighbor or somebody that last minute goes, "Do you really think it's going to hit? I don't know. I don't care. Do you need a place to stay? Because I have one for you."
That's what me and Dennis talk about. We always like, where'd you evacuate your family to? Oh, I got rooms in Tallahassee. Like, that's reality. You have a plan. I was never the guy that said have a plan, but I believe it. Have a plan. Like, because I'm telling you what, when what hits the fan again, and you're in panic mode, you don't know, like, what was I supposed to do? What do I do?
Sure.
So it's very important to have a plan, because if you got to make that last second decision, have a plan. Like, where do I put my documents? Where do I take the dogs? Where do I get the medicine? So it is important. I've evolved into that Debbie Downer, I call it.
No, I hear you.
I know the importance of that kind of stuff.
You don't think about it. Hopefully I can reach this here. I had water in my house. Oh, there it is, right on my hat. There we go.
Oh my God.
All right, here it is. Look. So you see
water.
this? So this was up on it was on a shoe rack in the back of my closet.
Oh my God.
So that was up off the 10 inches or whatever. If you want to have a read there, it's kind of funny. You don't have to read it out loud or whatever. But this was something that I actually responded to a friend like 20 years ago. He said, "Hey, I'm thinking about having a keg at my party, or should I just get cans?" And that was my response.
A keg. A keg is a person, basically. It's special. And I get people carrying me because I drink, I mean, I love this kind of stuff, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, I got a brand built around Drunk Donkey and, ABC and
that's
TV.
so awesome. Yeah, so TBVC did your own, they did a beer for you, right?
Yes, yeah. This is like the 3rd or 4th year. Spaghetti Model IPA. We sold
that's it. Spaghetti Model IPA.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Cool.
It was fun. I got a barrel selection. I'm flying up with Knob Creek in a couple weeks.
Very cool.
I mean, it's like, whatever. Everybody loves a good hurricane party.
There's nothing wrong with capitalizing on catastrophe. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that at all. But it's be safe, do all that stuff.
Oh yeah, no, take it very serious.
Let's go back to this for just a second, and then and I know you're a busy guy. It took me like 30 minutes to get him from one to another to another. But anyway,
I'm looking at all these bars. I haven't even tapped half of these yet.
75 of them here.
And I'm still standing upright. I'm like, I'm letting myself down.
You might want to work one of these in.
Nah,
okay, all right. Well, yeah, I still have to be able to speak in a couple hours. But anyway, Mike, I appreciate you being here. You're not out yet, but I just wanted to say, today's environment has changed so much. Let me give you this quick example on thinking about it. 2 nights ago, I had the pleasure of working for the American Caribbean Maritime Foundation, and the focus was the catastrophe in Jamaica.
Right.
160-mile-an-hour wind supposedly coming through. But here's the part, right? We talk about capitalism, this, that, and the other. AI has gotten a hold of some of the footage, and they've enhanced it, and it looks terrible, and it's even worse than what it was.
I've seen it.
You don't need to do that. It was bad enough. It was bad enough. And the people down there are very, very resilient. But to that, I just kind of shake my head when you talk about people loving that, just that catastrophic destruction, and I want to watch it. And so, where do they go to get the true Mike's weather page, right?
Well, that's the truth. I mean, yes, I saw the AI photos being shared, and again, going back to the meteorologists that are monetizing now, you see that, and you're like, oh, that's shock and awe, and I'm going to share it. So I have worked extra hard on verifying things. Like, I am not going to share something I'm not 100% sure about. And so I think a lot of it's just going back to, like, people see through it, and I think they're going to really trust the ones that don't share, that kind of stuff. I mean, so I do know we're in a rough spot now with AI, with not knowing what to believe, and
really.
And so for me, one message that I went on a bold statement from Melissa was it was 185-mile-an-hour winds, and I'm like, it's gonna be bad. Like,
Yes.
I don't need to. So the day after, all the people were making fun of the videos, like, oh, this was a joke. It was overhyped. What a bust. And I'm like, no, these videos you're seeing are way outside of where
Absolutely.
it's bad.
Sure.
And I mean, that's where people want to see that destruction right away, and then you start getting these AI videos,
Sure.
and so it's a tough thing. I mean, but I've just learned, it's bad, and it is bad, and I do know there's people on the ground helping. I got
Sure.
friends in ministries I'm really proud of that are down there delivering generators, and I talked to locals down there. I'm really impressed with what Jamaica did with their EOC department educating people.
Yep.
I mean, if they could stay under 40 deaths, right now I don't think it's over 40. That is phenomenal. I mean, I'm not saying it's great,
Very resilient people.
but 185-mile winds, they were making it sound like the whole island was going to be decimated. And
of course, there's the hype that you were talking about, right? Yeah, like they're overhyping, but like you said, it's just going to.
Well, they got mad too. I live on X. X is great for now news, and there was a lot of Jamaicans that were getting very upset about everybody saying they're going to be, knocked off the faces.
Sure.
Or, and they're like, no, we got this, and so if we'll know in 6 months how bad it really was, but if they got through this, they didn't get a lot of hype. They stuck to the facts, and we might learn from the media a little bit because they did not hype this up until they had to.
Sure.
And if everybody survived, and so, yeah, it's different countries. Puerto Rico's was a little more rough, and every country's different. But I think Jamaica so far, I'm impressed. I heard, I'm like everybody. I heard things about Jamaica. I've never been there, so I assume, that's why I'm going to go.
Beautiful country.
I'm impressed. Bermuda's impresses me. All these Caribbean nations, they get through it.
And they're just a brilliant people. You'll absolutely love it down there. All right, listen, how we doing, buddy? Yeah, we got a couple minutes left. What can I do I know you got 2 million, but how do I? No, we'll certainly forward and share and all that. What can I do to help you?
No, I see you got a lot of football stuff here.
I'm excited about my Buccaneers. They got a tough game tomorrow against the Patriots here, and I just wanted to make sure that I put it out there, So and I was looking for something that was kind of beer centric with Buccaneers. I saw that. So, and then I found some beads, and I said, all right, I got to put a little bit out there. Well, this is funny. This is a signed ball from the 2009 Tampa Bay Buccaneer class. Josh Freeman's on there, whatever else. So none of these guys really made it, but the fact that they even made it in the NFL, so I was like, yeah, I'll bring that out there. I don't care what happens to it. So
I had a Bucko Bruce bike in the 70s.
Sure you did.
Yeah, I was a native.
Got teased.
Everybody thought it was the ugliest logo on the planet, and guess what? Now they're voted #1. How things go full circle, right? There, you got one right there, right? I mean, everybody made fun of that Bucko Bruce orange, and now it's like the most hottest logo on the planet. That's pretty cool. Well, locally, I guess one thing locally, if you
go Bucks,
you follow Fran Hosh.
Yeah,
she's a good friend of mine, and she does a lot here in the lake.
And
I got to hang out with Allstott, so we're going to be doing a lot of charity stuff in the off season. So I'm proud to be involved with that. She does it like next week. There's a big she does a big feeding charity at her office and raises so much money for food, for homeless.
Sure. She's giving back.
Yeah, she's giving back a lot. So
she's giving back. And
watch for that.
I'll tell you, I think this, and we will. So if you'll send a link to it, I'll make sure that I share it on my page as well. And, I tell you this, I grew up this way that there's a lot of things that are just an invitation. I believe giving back to your community is an obligation. And I think that it's a pleasant obligation, but I think you should give back because no matter how bad it is, there's somebody who's got a little bit worse.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And the biggest, most frustrating thing in the world is when the folks that truly try and they're doing it all, and then all of a sudden they have a setback there. The ones that are sitting around lazy, and I don't feel sorry about that, but those folks that give. Quick example, and we'll get out of here. I'm happy to be promoting Raising Relief Foundation, Devin Pappas. I don't know if you know her, but anyway, she's got a great organization, and I was going to perform the auction for her last fall, and then, of course, the hurricanes came through. So I told her, I said, how you doing, this, that, and the other? I had 10 inches of water in my house. She said, Chris, what do you need, buddy? And then she told me, she said, all of the people that are usually the givers at these events, they're all displaced. Because, yes, they live in high-profile places on the water, but they can't go back in. they're not condemned, but they can't go back in because there's mold and there's mildew and the drywall's wet. And so somebody like me, I had clothes and things like that just got destroyed in a domino effect when the water came up. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. Well, I didn't take anything, but it's just the idea that she was willing to do that just made it all that much better. In fact, she just won Philanthropist of the Year of the Tampa Bay area. So there's a whole bunch of cool stuff.
No, I feel good. I feel good helping. I feel like you said it's not an obligation. It is an obligation, but it's a good feel.
Sure.
I know you got to go, but one of my most memorable moments of Mike's weather page was doing Hurricane Ian. I did a big interview with Fox.
Okay.
I was so excited to see the interview. When it came out, the headline said, Mike Boylan talks about how neighbors come together, unite, neighbors helping neighbors. And I remember telling my wife, I'm like, how did they pull that from I was expecting to talk about my storm chase. Because at the moment, I was me. I was more like, I was storm chasing. Since that moment, I realize how neighbors come together, neighbors helping neighbors, and that means so much to me. Is communities rallying, helping people, and I love it. I mean, churches come together, kids. Oldsmar, I cried like a freaking baby the day after Helene. These kids were organizing at Orioles Park. I never felt so good as a human being to see kids carrying pizzas and cookies and water, and I was like, this is so awesome. So that's one thing that's taught me is how we all come together and.
A year later, they're riding mechanical sharks out there in the middle of a pool. And
I'm going to get it.
Drinking beer in a field.
I'm getting it. Oh, I can do it. And they're not going to breathalyze me here, so that's good.
Mike Boylan's my guest, ladies and gentlemen. And his weather page is mikesweatherpage.com?
Yeah, it is Mike's Weather Page. All you got to do is Google Mike's. Power of Google, just hit Mike's, it'll pop up.
That's a secret website. We don't want to share that with everybody.
Yeah, it's actually spaghettimodels.com.
Spaghettimodels.com.
Mike Boylan
from Mike's Weather Page. I am so happy to have him here on the Wild Boar Show.
It's fun.
Friends, hey, like and subscribe. Thank you so much. We're out.